So thank you very much to the Community Foundation for this opportunity to speak. I am fortunate and privileged enough to sit on their grants committee, which is probably one of my favorite committees to sit on. We have a really robust dialogue and conversation, and this vital focus report is just a testament to that. So keep up the fantastic work, Community Foundation. So I'm here to talk about housing and homelessness. If you say that something is vital, you mean that it is necessary or very important. If you describe something or something as vital, you mean that they are very energetic and full of life. Housing and homelessness, essentially housing instability, is a complex and compounding experience. The solutions, both simple and very complex as well. Service providers and agencies doing the direct service delivery to those still experiencing homelessness in our community, as well as those at imminent risk and those that are also housed, as well as those service providers that are supporting other vulnerable populations in our community, from those in the disability world to seniors to food and cultural supports, are vital to the well-being of this community and are vital to the health of all of our members in our community. However, they are, and we are, after 19 months of the pandemic, feeling the brunt of expectations, criticism, and blame for things far, far beyond their control. To say that as a sector, we are at the epitome of a status of being described as vital, as being energetic and full of life, would actually be a far stretch, folks. Over the past 19 months, the vulnerable population and those supporting have had an unprecedented level of loss and grief that comes not only with the pandemic that all of us are experiencing, but in the form of death, from natural causes to unconscionable levels of suicide and overdose. The amount of trauma from attending to individuals and families and workers in grief is absolutely paralyzing. The most compelling image that I can leave you with is something that haunts me and something that I've shared with a few trusted confidants and some of you that are online with us today. Without fail, when there is a death, a loved one opens the fridge, peers in, and says one of a couple different options. And one of them is always, they had food. Or that was the milk I dropped off the other day. And then they comment that they know that that loved one was also loved by the people that served them. September 7th, 2021 was the homeless serving system's first major COVID outbreak. Many of you don't know that, and this will be the first time you hear about that. 17 homeless individuals were impacted. Some of them ended up in hospital, and that number does not include the agency staff that had been on the front line since day one. It also happened to be September, the first month that we, meaning our community, did not have COVID-19 specific funded responses available. Prior to this, 62 vulnerable people were assisted through our COVID-19 response in community. This does not include those that were already housed and required isolation due to their living situation. Let me explain. For those that don't know, Medicine Hat, as a city, was one of the only major centers in Alberta without commercial isolation spaces. That means when someone presented to the ER or emergency department, the system and health had to rely on the homeless serving system and the housing systems to actually put people into hotels because we have process and protocol in place. So those community members, be it foreign workers or those in roommate situations who needed hotels for isolation, were supported through our collective work. There were just as many housed individuals that we supported in isolation during the pandemic than there were homeless individuals, because that's what we do. We support all of our community members. For those of you that need a refresher, fighting to have COVID-19 emergency responses available in our community for our vulnerable sector consumed majority of this sector's energy and efforts from October 2020 to the community letter in May to the closing of those services on August 31st. Every day was a battle. We fought to have basic human rights allowed to be offered during a pandemic. If need be, we're ready to fight again. So what? Really, that's what it comes down to. So what? I encourage you to challenge your own perspectives and beliefs. I have numerous times over the past 19 months, and I will continue to do so. I have professionally course corrected many, many times and have had to check my biases. I have been wrong so many more times than I have been right, but we have learned and we have persevered through. Please continue to ask questions and ask the tough questions of the right people, folks. Check your biases and know that it may be your neighbor's child, spouse, sibling, or parent that is struggling, that you just classified as homeless or as a drug addict or a criminal that is just choosing not to get help. Support the efforts to have difficult and necessary conversations. I can assure you, and so can everyone else in this sector, that we cannot make people get housed. We can't. We can have the best supports and systems available, but I cannot force someone into housing. It's our responsibility to make sure we have robust systems of care and housing options available to all of our citizens. It is no different than the inability to force someone into treatment for an addiction or to force them to access mental health supports. Please challenge your biases. We have seen a drastic increase in the number of people sleeping rough in our community in the past couple of months. I see it, you see it. We see it in Veterans Park, we see it all over. I assure you, we will collectively in this community see a drastic increase continually for the number of people that are experiencing homelessness in our community. We have a lot of people that are entering into a state of homelessness that have never been homeless before. Why? Because they can't pay the rent, because the economy is tanked, because we have job loss. So if we're balancing out things, please keep in mind that we don't just serve those homeless individuals that we sometimes judge or have a different experience than us. Majority of the people we actually serve might be your employees that actually just need a hand up and a help up through our housing programs where they go into social and affordable housing. Please keep that in mind. So what? Please get educated, get informed. Please be a part of our systems transformation work that is underway in our community. Have compassion. Social services are vital to the well-being of our community. All of them are, whether it's food to senior services to recreation, they're all vital to the well-being of community. So I want you to ask yourself this: what would happen if these services, mental health, food, addiction support, drop-in programs, cultural supports, Indigenous work, housing and homeless supports, to name a few, were not available in your community? What would that look like? Please extend some gratitude and some thanks to those service providers that are doing the heavy lifting, the day in, day out work of supporting some of our most vulnerable. A thank you goes a really long way. So with that, I also want to thank all of our service providers that do this work day in, day out, whether you're housing individuals and supporting individuals that are already housed, or those individuals that are still on their journey home. Well done, we applaud you, and I have the utmost respect for you. Thank you.